Hello, and how is everybody doing tonight? Hold on a second. Got to haven't used that program in a while, so I don't know if that bled through or not. But hey, how is everybody doing tonight? It is Friday, February 21st, 2025. Back here on YouTube to do another live stream, and we have got a very packed show tonight with a very mediocre energy level. I am tired. I thought about just pushing this to Saturday, but I want to make this kind of a traditional thing and keep going. The last one got a good reaction from some people, so hopefully we can continue with the trend. Um, just a heads up, we will be watching a few videos tonight, but we're gonna try and keep. And I've got more topics than I did last time. So tonight we're gonna cover Greg Miller and the things that he said in an award show, and kind of look at him. Mark Hamill loses his pants at another award show, and we've got some more from there. But those are the two big ones right there. But as far as the day goes, worked. As you know, I do have a real life job, and had a lot of work to do today. So it was a lot of moving the stuff around, moving boxes. So I'm kind of a little bit tired at this point, but uh, I will get through that. And just to give you a forewarning, my brain will lock up every once in a while, so forgive me on that. It's a just a it's a combination of me being tired and a combination of me just the way that my brain works, because my brain and my mouth don't work in tandem like it should. But hey, while you're here, and if you're giving me you're giving a stop through, checking me out, if you wouldn't mind, I'm gonna do like everybody on live streams say. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe if you can. Uh, throw in a couple comments. We see some stuff in the chats. That would be great, just to see anything in the chats, because we have a goal. We have a goal to get some subscribers, get it to where we get monetized, and maybe I can read some super chats. But we are a long, long way from there. But if you know, typically, if this is your first time jumping in, normally I stream on Kick and Twitch, playing some games, upload them here to YouTube, and this is something a little bit more. So this is the third time I've streamed on YouTube directly. I still have no idea what I'm calling this. Nothing's coming up. I've got some ideas, but I don't know if I could use them or not. But we will see. But enough talking, enough intro. Let's go ahead and get into it. Let's go ahead and get started, because I want to try and keep this within a certain amount of time, but I don't know if it's going to work out with the stuff I've got to cover. But, as always, we're going to talk about gaming and entertainment, whatever catches my eye, anything that I find interesting and I want to talk about from throughout the week. So, and as always, the news cycle, something always comes up. Like there was something that came up today, but I've already made my plan for tonight. So we'll cover that at some other time. So let's go ahead and let's talk about our first topic tonight. And I got to fix that too. I'm still working on the actual stream itself to where it actually looks a little bit nicer. But let's start off with the announcement from Nintendo that kind of came out of nowhere on Monday. So Nintendo is going to discontinue the Gold Points program. Now, for those of you who don't own a Switch, it is a program where if you buy a game, you get gold points. And these gold points can be used to buy digital games on the eShop. Typically, the points, the gold points that you'll get will range depending on the overall cost of the game. So pretty much, just to give you an example, you top out at 60. Nintendo games, for the most part, are guaranteed to give you a 60 if they're at full regular price. If they're lower than that, then they'll get you, like 30 and 20 and so on and so on. I have used gold points for a while, and I've used them to buy quite a bit of stuff on the eShop. A really good rewards program as opposed to Microsoft and Sony's, if they even have one. Microsoft's is pretty much you get points for when you play games on Game Pass. If you, at least, I don't know if they still do it or not, when you browsed on Edge, if you did little quizzes on the do little quizzes on their app, but they kind of changed that up a little bit. And on Xbox, you could redeem it for like contests. You could use it towards gift cards. I use mine towards Xbox Live points. That's what I use mine for. But Nintendo's discontinuing their programs, so essentially, it kind of goes out like this. Thank you very much for your continued support of our products. On March 25th, 2025 at 3 p.m. ADT, 5:30 p.m. ANZDT, the ability to earn gold points will end. Gold points already earned can still be used on the Nintendo eShop to receive a discount, even after this end date. So, if you're like me and you've got Switch games you haven't opened yet, I'd go ahead open them open all of them, and go ahead and see if you get a point. You get points. Keep in mind, a lot of people don't know this, but the points eligibility on some games do expire. So if you've got a game that's been wrapped and never popped into your Switch, there's a good chance that there's no coins available for it. But I've got a stack full of Switch games myself, and I will be going through it before the 25th, so I can go ahead and get as many points as possible. What does this ultimately mean? So what this ultimately means, in my opinion, is I think they're going to be transitioning, and they're going to transition to a new e-store with the Switch too. So they're not continuing over. But if you've noticed through the progression since they started doing the eShop on the various platforms, going from the Wii over to the current Switch, they have changed the eShop. The eShop on the Wii doesn't look the same as it does on the Wii U, DS, 3DS, and so on and so forth. So I'm thinking, this is just pure speculation on my part. I'm thinking that they're probably going to end up coming up with a new rewards program, and they're going to do it in a different way through the Switch too. So once everything's transferred over to the new eShop when the Switch 2 comes out, which, if you kind of look at the date here, they're not giving us a year. They're only giving us a few weeks. So at the end of March, they're going to discontinue that program. That is a really good indication that the Switch 2 will probably be out sooner than later. Because we already know in April they're going to do a Nintendo Direct that's going to talk all about the Switch 2. It's going to talk about some games other than Mario Kart 10 or 9 or whatever it is. The new Mario Kart, we'll just say that. They're going to go a little bit more detail into that. And then we will probably have a small pre-order window and then a release soon after that. I'm thinking, if I was thinking correctly, they're probably going to do June. I would not be surprised middle of June, so you can get enough people to pre-order it. There's been some speculations on a second screen attachment for the Switch. Somebody had posted up a concept of what that would look like, and it was two Switch 2s in this contraption to where it kind of folded in. I don't think it'll be two Switch 2s. I think it's actually going to be the opposite. I think it's going to be this. I think that it's going to be the Switch 1 is going to be your touchscreen, and your main screen will be the Switch 2. But I think the way it probably will work out is in the same vein. So instead of the touchscreen being at the bottom like on a DS, it's going to be on the top, so it folds a little bit easier. It's going to be kind of awkward holding the controllers towards the top of the screen at the bottom and it folding up. Um, or they'll make it to where you can use uh, the original Joy Cons um, on those DS games, because all this is probably going to do is just opening up the eShop for DS and 3DS games. Possibly, and people have been asking for the virtual console to come back, and I think this would be a good time for the virtual console to come back. But of course, with any new system, as opposed to like if you look at the Xbox and PlayStation, their stores have pretty much looked the same for the most part. Sony really kind of cleaned up theirs, sort of, with the PS5. But Microsoft's has been the same since the Xbox One. So no change there. But this just means we got some changes coming, some exciting changes coming with the Switch 2. Not I think once they announced it, the hype kind of just died down for it. It just really kind of died down for it. But we'll see how we'll see how that plays out. But I'm pretty sure the Switch 2 will go over gangbusters with the hardcores. Your parents that just bought Switches this holiday this season, they're not even going to look at this for a while. So I think as far as right out of the gate, a hit with hardcore gamers like me, but your normies and your kids, especially ones that just recently got a Switch for Christmas, I think that's going to be a tougher that those would be a tougher sale. There would be probably people that will have had the system for a while before they jump onto the Switch 2, and I see that holiday. I see that holiday of this year, and that's be a second takeoff. My only concern is, will there be a shortage? Because Nintendo has a habit of things being short, except for the Wii U. That Wii U took forever to sell, and it didn't sell very well. And I was a sucker, and I wasn't going to buy one, but I was a sucker and ended up buying it, and it turned out to be a pretty good system. So, yes. So, again, if you've got Switch games that you have not popped in your Switch, you pretty much have little over a month to go in and pop those in so you can get those gold coins and start redeeming them on some games in the eShop. I would recommend the shovelware because those are gems. All right, so let's move on to the next topic. So yeah, Mark Hamill's pants fell down, and I was just going to kind of talk about it and just show the actual video itself. But I came across this video right here that actually brought up some interesting points on that. So just to summarize it, Mark Hamill was at the BAFTA Awards, I think in England. I think that's what it was. The video will kind of clear that up for us here in a second. And as he was delivering a speech, his pants fell down to his knees. And the thought is that his pants were way too big for him. And reading a report or listening to a report, apparently there were some celebrities like Ariana Grande and I forget his last name's Charlemagne, I don't know. And one other celebrity, they were like within viewing range of what had happened, and they were appalled and surprised. I would assume he probably wasn't with that reaction. I was assuming he was probably going commando, but we don't know for sure. So I think it'd be good to we go ahead and watch the video and let it explain and see what they did to cover up a replay.
There was an award show in Britain. Called the BAFTAs because there aren't.
Okay, well, what is that? Not the person, but the thing in front of her. If that's her dress, okay.
Aren't enough award ceremonies for these celebrities to congratulate themselves, I guess. Look.
Yep, sniffing their own farts.
Would they win? I wouldn't want that ugly thing on my bookshelf. Anyway, this award show was filled with your typical liberal nonsense.
Oh, I do want to just take a moment to recognize the sex worker community.
Oh, okay.
And the BAFTAs featured one of the worst Trump insults I've ever seen.
A film about incredible architecture. In fact, it's the boldest architecture in film of this year, apart from Donald Trump's hair in The Apprentice.
No, Doctor Who, no.
Talking of villains.
Actually, let's skip all of this because this is all inconsequential. So let's get to this guy right here. Because that's
And look who's absolutely loving it. That's right. It's Mark Hamill. When I think of Mark Hamill, I think of probably the most broken celebrity lost to Trump derangement syndrome. But other people know him from this movie series called Star Wars.
I know him from, Star Wars, some little film. I know him from two great films, Corvette Summer and The Guyver. And the thing about Mark Hamill is he did Star Wars, and after Star Wars was done, he laid low for a while. I think, he did mostly roles in like low budget sci-fi type of movies. He was on The Flash as the trickster. And then he rose back up again, being the voice of the Joker in the Batman the Animated Series. And then kept doing voice work for a while, and then they got him back for the Star Wars sequels, which didn't really do Luke Skywalker justice. And he even said that he didn't agree with the direction they're taking the character, because he said, ultimately, this is not what Luke Skywalker would do. This is not how Luke Skywalker is. But with how he is on Twitter, it's one of those situations like if you have a grandfather and you don't let him outside because you know he's going to say something embarrassing or possibly offensive and racist. That's how Mark Hamill comes across on Twitter.
He played a hermit who lived on an island and drank milk from a weird space alien.
So for a little bit of let me tell you about this scene right here in Star Wars. So when I went to go see The Last Jedi, I was excited to see it. And then when I saw this scene and him milking this, I don't know, alien sea cow thing, my thing was, what the hell is he doing? Well, at first when he threw the lightsaber, I was like, what was he doing? And then he was like squeezing the teat to get some green milk out. I'm like, okay, all right, this makes no sense. And then at that point, it was just downhill from there, because I wanted to walk out of that movie because it just got boring and pointless after that. Well, it was pretty much boring and pointless from the beginning.
Don't ask.
You had your like fan memberberry moments, like when he met up with Chewbacca and R2-D2, and then when he saw Leia again. But other than that, everything else was just, that made no sense. The horses,
Ask me, I don't watch this shit, but people actually like it, so I don't know. Anyway, Mark Hamill was later brought in as the esteemed person to announce the best film. And of course, he couldn't help but bring up Donald Trump. Seriously, this man is broken.
In troubling times, it is an honor to be, like all of you, in the business of escapism. I won't mention any other names.
And yet again, you're not putting escapism in the movies. Keep that in mind. Because people watch movies and play video games who escape all the real world shit. But then when you're putting the real world shit in the games and making people feel bad because they don't like it, then they don't want to play your crap or go see your movie.
But as he was giving his speech, somehow his pants fell off.
So what makes us love cinema so much that we're all gathered here to celebrate tonight?
You can kind of tell he's got a kind of a twinge in his voice because he can feel it. Because you can feel when your pants are about to go down, especially in this situation like, oh, they're going. They're going. I can't react to this. They're going. They're going. Hopefully they'll stay still. Maybe I can wheel the pants to stay not droop any down any further than they already are.
For me, it's that films create worlds so vivid and stories
And
so
there they
powerful.
go. I mean, because you already know, especially with the pants like that, he wasn't wearing a belt, I believe.
That we lose ourselves in them completely. They create immersive cinematic landscapes that feel alive, whether they're set here in London or anywhere.
This is completely baffling. There's actually a solution for this kind of thing. It looks like this.
Yeah, but I think in most tuxedos you can't wear a belt. I think. I've only worn a tuxedo once in my life, and I did not have a belt. I did not have a belt, and you know what? And I was fatter at the time because, you know, as most fat people are, they don't tend to wear their pants around their waist. They wear them around their hips. I mean, shit, I still do because I have a little bit of a gut still because it's uncomfortable and it looks weird. That's why you see a lot of fat guys walking around with droopy pants and their butt cracks showing. They're always tugging up on their pants like I do. So I mean, so it could not be helped. I'm assuming he wasn't fitted properly for his pants. That's what I'm thinking.
It's called a belt. If I dress up and have to go to a wedding or something, I'll usually put one on and my pants have never fallen off, let alone while I'm just standing. But you know, if you look a little closer, what's up with this? He's shaking a lot.
Because he knows it's about to happen. He can feel it. He knows it.
He couldn't be nervous, could he? He's done this kind of thing for decades. Perhaps he's let his anger and rage at Donald Trump consume him, turning him into an angry and bitter old man that vibrates. By the way, I went back and pulled up the entire recording of this award show, and look what they did.
We're all gathered here to celebrate tonight. For me, it's that films create worlds so vivid and stories so powerful that we lose ourselves in them completely. They create immersive cinematic landscapes that feel alive, whether they're set here in London or anywhere.
That's right, they re-edited it to show generic shots of the crowd. Now look.
Yeah, and depending on where he was sitting on the podium, they probably had no idea it happened.
Look at this podium. If Mark Hamill's pants did indeed fall down, practically everyone there would have seen it. So these reaction shots...
At least the motions he was making, they could tell on that. But, you know, they can't laugh at it. They can only make faces.
...are almost guaranteed not from this moment.
Except her, she got a big kick out of that. She was like, hee 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 hee. But, you know, with certain older people, they just don't give a fuck anymore.
Mark Hamill stands as the quintessential example of what a real psychological illness Trump derangement syndrome is.
Oh, you know what? And he was talking about how his hands were shaking. So look at this. I put this back a little bit. Just
what
look
a
at
real
it.
psychological illness Trump derangement syndrome is.
Yeah, and he's not talking to Trump there. They're just putting them side by side. But his hands are shaking there. He might have some kind of nerve disorder or something.
Trump derangement syndrome is. And if his body vibrating and pants falling down in front of everyone isn't a wake-up call, then he is truly doomed. If Mark Hamill...
Yeah, because he shouldn't be getting nervous in... He shouldn't be getting nervous in those kind of situations. He's probably got some kind of like nervous, like some kind of nerve disorder. Because, I mean, good God, some of the crap that he has done. And I've seen him live. I mean, some of the stuff like yelling out loud, doing the Joker laugh. I mean, it's not, and he was like cool as a cucumber. But it's got to be, he's getting older. I think he's in his 70s now, and it's probably a nervous situation on that. But it probably really got agitated when he knew his pants was falling down.
Has some friends or family who actually care about him. Get him some help.
Okay. So what would you, based on what he said in the video, yes, he has majorly got TDS. majorly got TDS, big time. And he just says some off the wall stuff on there that will turn off anybody. And that's the thing with a lot of celebrities. And I will say this as far as my opinion goes when it comes to celebrities, when it comes to social media, they need to just not be on social media. At least not giving their opinions on social media. They're granted they are welcome to them, but at some points, no matter where you are on the aisle, let's just say that, or whatever your beliefs are, you could just tell how crazy somebody is by what they post on the internet. Yeah, I remember the good old days where the celebrities were like these people of mystery that the only time you ever found out any little details about them was whenever they did interviews or they were on the Tonight Show or promoting a film or doing an interview with a magazine. Sometimes you get some good stuff in the Inquirer, but that was like give or take, just depending on what the article was. But there was a mystique, there was a mysterious nature to celebrities because they often, you didn't often know a lot about them. They kept their stuff to themselves, and then there, of course, there would be celebrities that wouldn't shut up, and they were nutball no matter what they said. But there was far and few between. Now it's like practically every celebrity. It's like it's an open book. They're all in our faces, and they basically hate us, the normal people, because we're beneath them. And it is a privilege for them to make movies for us. And it's a privilege that they make stories that are supposed to make us better people. We're just normal people. We live day by day, and we have we suffer the consequences of our actions, whether it's positive or negative. These people, these celebrities, act like they're all high and mighty, but there's no telling what kind of skeletons that are in their closet. But they think because they're on the movie screen, on the TV screen, they have money, that they feel like they have influence about people and people are looking up to them. That's not the case if you look at how the box office has been ever since COVID, and how TV shows are ever since streaming got started. And if they make a product or a movie and you don't like it, the fans don't like it, and you are critical of it, they'll call you every word in the book, an istophobe and all that, and use that as a shield to protect themselves from criticism. So the way you could look at this with Mark Hamill, and Mark Hamill and George Takei was the same thing, because I remember when George Takei would post on Facebook, it was always positive, it was always good natured. There were some jokes here and there, and then after 2016, that all changed. He just went off the deep end. But if you want to look at it this way, as karma, well, I mean that is karma. Everybody answers to karma one way or another in life. And this could probably be a consequence of it. Now, will everybody talk about it for a while? I think at this point it's pretty much past the news cycle. Nobody's really talking about it. Plus, it's Mark Hamill, so it's like, well, whoop-de-doo. Will he get made fun of it? And whenever he says something stupid on whatever platform he's on, I think he's on Blue Sky. I think he finally left Twitter, but I think, or X. So I think he's on Blue Sky, which it's from what my understanding of Blue Sky is, it's like X but dumber, and it is full of all the stuff that they got rid of on X, like PDFs and other type of naughty stuff that's illegal. I'll say that. Not saying that it's still not here and there on the other social medias, but you know, that's where they're all going. I mean, to kind of give you an idea on Blue Sky, like the day, I think it was the day after the election, and they had a huge surge of signups. They also said that they had more complaints of them tattling on each other than they had had the entire time they had been in operation. But hey, that's their alternate. They wanted to get away because right now, honestly, X is a pretty, I'd say, even platform, and they can't handle that because they can't report them because it's an open forum now. But it's pretty much, if you want to look at it and say that was karma, it could be karma. I look at it as simply he didn't get fitted correctly for his pants. But is that the worst thing that could happen to him? No. I mean, like I said, it'll probably come up with, like, if he happens to be back on X and having an argument or something, somebody's going to bring up that yeah, didn't you drop your pants at an award show or something like that? Um, I mean, but yeah, I mean, it may come up in some blooper reels or whatever, but I think that is going to be probably the worst of it. Probably the worst of it. Man, I got to get a better transition. I'm telling you, I got to work on this, get a better transition on everything. All right. So, yeah. So that was Mark Hamill losing his pants. Not entirely the end of the world, but it is there. All right. Well, let's go on to the next topic. Well, we're making some pretty good time here. We may actually get this done within an hour. I didn't think those two wouldn't take quite so long, but the video we're gonna watch, because this came up the other day, and this is from Mark Dariah. And if you have no idea who he is, because I had no idea who he works in the games industry, and he has worked on, and I've actually got his IMDb pulled up on here. He has worked on the Dragon Age games. He's worked on Anthem. It doesn't look like he has worked on the Dragon Age games after these two. It seems like it seems like the most recent thing that he's done besides Anthem was A Plague Tale Requiem, and that was 2016. I believe he's retired. He's also worked on Neverwinter Nights, so pretty good pedigree on as far as the games that he's worked on, except for Anthem. But I loved Anthem. I thought Anthem was great. I heard it's been shut down, but I'm almost tempted to just jump on there and see if I can still play it. But we don't know about that. So he made a video called "Your $70 Doesn't Buy You Cruelty," which just is a video about him discussing how, well, you know, I honestly I think the gist of it is basically saying how if you spend money, you don't have the right to criticize the people that are making the game. I haven't seen this. I've only saw like bits and pieces on side scrollers, but I haven't seen the full thing. But we're on here tonight. It's a live stream. Oh, by the way, don't forget to like and comment in the like and subscribe, and hey, get you in the chat. We got to have people in the chat. So we're gonna go ahead and just watch this. We're gonna analyze this stuff. I can say, for first things first, trim your beard. I absolutely have no room to talk when my beard is that length, but I at least try to get underneath. I try to get them clean up the mustache. Those wild hairs drive me nuts. And trim around here, make it more uniform. Of course, I'm terrible at that. I always shave it off and then regrow it. Start from scratch is the best way to do it.
Did you read the title? Did it say something like "Your $70 doesn't buy you cruelty"?
Yes, I did. And
well,
I don't know why that did that.
That's what we're going to talk about today. The fact that you bought a game that you didn't like doesn't give you the right to be cruel or unkind to the people that developed that game.
So, right off the bat, what is your definition of cruel and unkind? Are you talking about like criticism? Like, I didn't like this game. I didn't like the fact that the gameplay was terrible. I didn't like the story. Now, or what? Or are you getting like the few people that go in and actually are insulting, um, making the naughty threats? Is that what you're talking about? Of course, I'm interrupting him. Let him continue.
Now, I'm going to be clear about something. I'm not saying that you have to like the thing you bought. I'm not saying even that you aren't allowed to complain about the thing you bought.
But that's what you're saying.
You can have whatever opinion that you feel like
But keep it to yourself. Obviously, that's what he means. Keep it to yourself.
towards a game, even if that opinion is stupid and wrong. You
That's a matter of opinion.
are entitled to that
Because it may be stupid to you, but the person making the complaint, it's not stupid to them. It is a genuine concern,
opinion. And
genuine criticism.
to some degree, you're entitled to express that opinion to the corporation, to the video game studio that created this game that you bought.
Okay, so what you're saying is if you have a concern, go right to the publisher. Okay. That works sometimes, but it is well established that corporations do not listen to customers, especially video game studios. I'm sorry, video game publishers. They don't listen to customers. Some cases they do, some cases they don't, but generally they do not.
You paid 70 of your own dollars for this game and it disappointed you, and you're angry about that. That is fine. You are entitled to be angry about it, and you're entitled to express that anger in certain channels. If you are mad at that Ubisoft game,
and there's one coming out that it is. By the way, the if you hadn't already seen it, I showed it on one of my one of my Twitch streams the other day. The Yasuke simulator on Steam. It is going up the wish list charts. I mean, it is going up. That is going to be a day one buy for me. And if you hadn't seen that, I implore you to check out the trailer for it. It is the glorious thing, and get the name of the studio too. Excuse me. It's like historically accurate studios.
be mad at Ubisoft. Express your anger to Ubisoft or to the studio that made the game. But you cross a line when you start being cruel about it. So why am I saying you don't get to be cruel because you spent $70?
Well, first of all, I'm going to say you don't tell me what to do. Don't you be worrying about what I be doing. I spent $70 and expected something. And again, whatever your definition of cruel is. Now, of course, there already is contradiction right here that I can already tell, because he's already saying you can do whatever you want, complain to the publisher, complain to the studio, but you don't have to be cruel about it. Let's let him finish.
Let's walk through it. 1, you shouldn't be cruel at all. What are you doing? It's a video game. You don't need to go out of your way to cause harm to other people because of a video game that you don't like.
I'll agree with that. Like any kind of threats towards towards anybody that works on the game, absolutely not. There is no cause for any kind of threats or any kind of harassment. That's just wrong. Guys, if you want to be critical to them, yeah, be critical about what they're doing. But it goes both ways. A lot of times, how this pretty much works out, either A, somebody is critical or some YouTubers are being critical about it, and then somebody on the development team gets butthurt about it, and then they say something that is awful and terrible and cruel by what I would assume his definition would be. And then that just starts a backlash from the fans, and a lot of times they say this shit before the game comes out, which is a dumb move. So usually it's in response to what this person has said, because they were responding to usually criticism based off stuff they have heard or rumors or whatever about whatever game's coming out.
Again, I'm not saying you're not allowed to be angry about it. I'm not saying you don't get to express your dissatisfaction with the content of the game that you're not enjoying. But when you climb into someone's personal social media and start actively attacking that person, when you celebrate layoffs at a studio because the game that you don't like didn't do that well, you're crossing a line.
Okay. So here's the thing. When studios lay off people, it is terrible. Especially for people that did not deserve it. But right now, there's going to be a mass amount of layoffs because of two reasons. And I've said this before in one of the previous streams. One, the studios overhired during COVID based on people being at home and not being able to leave, assuming that since the people are stuck at home, there's going to be a demand on games, so we need to produce some games. Well, the problem is development cycle for video games takes so long as versus making a movie or a TV show, so it's going to take longer for these to really hit on the scale to where they're going to flop or be successful. If you look at the movies and the TV shows, they have already hit that wall, have gone past it, so they're either going to double down on the bullshit or they're trying to steadily go about face. Hollywood is going to make an about face faster than the video game industry. We are going to end up having to deal with the stuff they're putting in these games and the way they're developed for probably another 2 to 3 years. So that means we're still going to complain, but going forward, I'm pretty sure that there are games right now that are early in development cycles are making changes like fast, like they're changing shit left and right
into being cruel. And fundamentally, you should have more grace for other human beings.
Again, these are gamers. These are gamers, right? We have been bitching about games since as long as I can remember, prior to 2016. And we have gone every single route of complaint, whether it would be complaining to each other, sending a letter to a magazine complaining on there. Once the internet hit, we were complaining on the message boards. We were complaining in the chat rooms. When internet journalism sites like IGN started, they were complaining in the comments on there. And now, as things have progressed, complaining on Reddit, complaining on Discord, complaining on YouTube videos, complaining on TikToks. And gamers tend to be assholes. It's just like if you anime fans, the passionate fans, people are passionate about what they're into. So of course they're going to be a little bit rude about things. I mean, shit. I mean, there's some stuff that is not even in my circle, and people are passionate about, like, or just they're just fanatical about it, and they're probably going to be rude. They're probably going to be cussing. But, draw the line at any threats or harassment for sure.
But if you're not buying that, let's go on to point 2. You don't know what caused the results that you don't like. Let's go through an example. Let's say that you don't like the line delivery on a piece of dialogue. Is that the fault of the voice actor? It might be, but it could be a lot of other things too. It might be the fault of the person who was directing that voice actor. Maybe they were.
I have never, as far as I can tell, I have never heard anybody go after a voice actor in a video game. I have never heard it. And I think for the most part, people are smart enough to know that voice actors are being directed and they're having to read what's in front of them. I know for a fact I don't ever blame a voice actor if they did the best they can. It's like an actor. You know, the actor has to interpret the words that are given to them on a page. But it's based on the director too, because the director is directing. So the director's job is to get the actor to that point that they're looking for to put on film. Some actors don't need a whole lot of direction. Some actors do need a lot of direction. But I have never ever seen anybody go after a voice actor or be critical of a voice. Well, other than, you know, his performance wasn't that great or, you know, whatever. But a lot of times people don't even know who the voice actors are. But usually it's if people are going after him, it's because, again, it's reactionary. There was some criticism. The famous person lashed out, and it set the entire community off, and they're responding to that.
Given very specific instructions to deliver the line in this particular way. Maybe the writer who wrote that line wanted it delivered in this particular way, and the stage direction specified this particular line delivery. Maybe the recording equipment at the voice studio went down, and the only take they managed to get was this first one that was done just to set the tone, and they were just kind of out of time and stuck with it. So if you go and you start attacking the voice actor for a line delivery you don't like, it might not be them at all. It might be something else. Indeed, it might not be the line delivery at all. Maybe the problem was the writing. So should you go attack the writer? Well, no, because why was the line written in this way? Was it written this way because the writer had a specific thing they were trying to say?
Yeah, they're trying to push whatever agenda that they had, because most of these video game writers that they're bringing in now are trying to push some kind of agenda or something. Like, again, like I said, escapism. People play games, go see movies to get away from this, because this is a shit show. And just for like maybe like 30 minutes to an hour a day, they just want to pop in a disc, play a game where they're like I said, they're in a magical mushroom kingdom, and they're stomping on mushrooms and turtles so they can go save a princess, or they can pretend that they're fighting in a war, or they're playing a role-playing game where they're in a fantasy world with its own lore and everything like that. And usually these writers will develop a reputation now because, like, for example, the Dragon Age Veilguard, they fired everybody on the staff. The director, main person that wanted all that crap that was in Veilguard, has already gone on and is working on another major IP. Can't remember what it is, but it's just I want to say for the life of me that it's Halo. I want to say it's Halo, but Halo's been in the trash can for years now. Like, I think more people are still playing the Master Chief Collection than they are Infinity, which I liked Infinity, but it got boring real quick. I have yet to see a new map in Infinity.
Maybe it was written this way because there was incredibly tight time pressures due to other externalities on their time. Maybe the direction of the game changed radically 3 months ago, and they had to rewrite this entire character in just 3 months.
So keep in mind on this, and because I'm pretty sure since he worked on, there's no proof that he's actually had any involvement with Dragon Age: The Veilguard. Dragon Age: The Veilguard almost took 10 years to develop. It had to be restarted almost 3 times. They were going to scrap it on the 3rd time to start again, but EA said, nope, we're going to go with this. The story, I think, was still going to be the same. Originally, Dragon Age: The Veilguard was going to be a online MMO. So it had 10 years. It seems like the story was going to be pretty consistent.
And you're just getting the first draft of that writing. Maybe the lead writer wanted this character to be in a specific way, and it constrained what the writer was able to do while they were writing this character. Maybe the creative director on the project had specific goals that they had in mind, and they were pushing the writing in a particular way or restricting how much leeway the writers had in order to express their vision on what the game was able to do or be. Maybe the executive producer, all of these people reporting up into the executive producer, decided that this game should be different in tone and was pushing the game direction in a different way. Or maybe the leadership of this project changed 6 times and the direction changed 6 times, and you're getting little bits of writing from each of these different directions, and there was never adequate time to step back and rewrite it. Maybe the CEO of the entire company really wanted his nephew to be hired as a script consultant, and this guy with literally...
Oh, so you're saying nepotism. So nepotism's involved in the video game industry. Got it. So here's some flaws that I can see in my opinion in his logic here. So what I've noticed is a lot of people put a lot more complaints into something that is an established franchise versus something that's a new IP. If it's a new IP and it just doesn't look interesting right off the bat, they won't buy it, they won't play it. Especially if it's got a lot of the nonsense that they're putting in now, like the ideology stuff, and then all the like the real world stuff and DI and all that stuff. They're not gonna buy it. They're not gonna buy it. I see more complaints for established IPs. So like when people complained about Saints Row when they did whatever garbage they did with Saints Row. With Veilguard, because not only did they put all the weird pandering mess in it, and also making you feel bad because you as a player, because you don't call somebody by the proper pronouns or go by their or acknowledge them as a non-binary, even though in this game is a fantasy magical world where none of that's ever been established, and you're changing characters and around, or like, you know, emasculating characters. Spider-Man, that's Spider-Man 2. We maybe ain't got their hands on Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 1 was completely awesome. It was a Spider-Man game. Spider-Man 2, Peter Parker was talked down upon. He was made weaker than Mary Jane, and he was phased out in favor of Miles Morales. Marvel really wants Miles Morales to be Spider-Man, but you know, that's a different story in itself. It has nothing to do with we want to do a black Spider-Man. It's they didn't want to pay the original creator they didn't want to pay his estate of royalties anymore. And the idea was they were going to try to get rid of Peter Parker just because they don't, you know, want to pay royalties. If you ever notice that if a long-standing character, especially in comic books, is slowly going away, or they try to get rid of them altogether and then replace them with a newer version, like a different version for whatever reason, and they take up the mantle, it's because they don't want to pay the original creator royalties. Because at that point, it's like, oh, well, this is our character. Like, what's the one going on that I had heard recently? Deadpool is dead, and his daughter is Deadpool. So if they don't use Deadpool anymore, they don't have to pay Rob Liefeld royalties for the Deadpool character. But after a while, that doesn't fit with the fans, and then they have to end up tucking their tail, making the deal, and bringing the character back. But at that point, usually the character's damaged in some way, and it's not. He doesn't respond. It doesn't resonate in the fans like he used to. I'm going off on these tangents. I'm sorry.
Literally zero experience was coming in and pushing for mandatory changes.
So back to the point with somebody coming in with zero experience and zero qualifications and all that. All right, so that's nepotism. That happens in every business. Every business has that. There's always, my uncle's the CEO and he's going to get me a job and then he's going to put me in charge of this, that, and the other. And I don't know what I'm doing because I've never done anything like this. This could also be said for the writers, developers, voice actors, because a lot of times this is the whole thing about the DEI thing that some people don't realize. It's not a thing to uplift, in my opinion. It's not a thing to uplift underrepresented people. It is to fill a checkbox by any means necessary. And that translates into the game because they're hiring people to fill a checkbox or to make themselves look good in the trades. And these people lack the experience to make games. And a lot of times, the people that do have the experience that could train and mentor these people are pushed out because they bring in these hires who tend to be younger, and they push them out because their fees were hurt, and they went to HR and reported them. That was one reason why David Lasseter over at Pixar got pushed out, because he liked to give hugs. He liked to give hugs, and then he's out. Now Disney is really wanting him back, but apparently he just signed a deal. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, I believe he just signed a deal with somebody that was like, I think Netflix. But I could be wrong about that. My thing about this is, if you want me out and I'm out, and it turns out that, hey, it was for no reason, and you want me to come back, I'm not coming back. Like Johnny Depp says, not even for $1 billion. What is it? Not even for all the money in the world and 1 million alpacas.
To the project. How realistic are all the things I just said? Some of them are incredibly realistic. Some of them not so realistic, but I've seen things that look an awful lot like all of the things I just said. So when you decided to personally attack that one specific person,
they started it
on social media, how certain are you that it was their fault, that they are responsible for that thing that you don't like?
9 out of 10 times they started it.
And I'm going to tell you right now, you shouldn't be certain, because you don't know exactly what was going on within the project. You don't know the exact circumstances that resulted in that thing you didn't like.
So let me ask this question. So this is going to be something that a lot of you people will not even remember. But back in the day, Coca-Cola decided they wanted to change their recipe. Call it New Coke. They put this big campaign out, and Coke is gone. Coke, regular original flavor Coke, is gone. Made this big campaign. It was a big deal and all that stuff. And following your logic, people complained and wanted to go away. If I remember correctly, because it's so long ago, it tasted like Pepsi to me. It flat out tasted just like Pepsi. Now, of course, that's all I drink is Pepsi now because I love Pepsi. But back then, I loved Coke. Coke now to me tastes like a Krispy Kreme donut, but that's neither here nor there. So if Coke kept the product around and they come out with a statement saying, listen, you don't know our process in making this. You don't need to be attacking us because you just don't know what we go through to make this new Coke. You should just enjoy the new Coke. I mean, you can be angry about it, but you just don't know what we went through. So don't attack us. Don't attack us because you don't know the process. You know, the mixing of the sugars and the syrup and the water and the 11 herbs and spices. All of that. No, what they did was they saw their sales tank. They sacked the people that needed to be sacked, and they brought back Coke as Coke Classic. Huge hit. Now, in some circles, it was probably conspiracy theory that Coke did that to take a loss just so they could reintroduce Coke again and make gangbusters. And then for a while, there was New Coke and Coke Classic. New Coke disappeared after a while. I don't know if you can actually follow if that coordinates with the analogy, but I mean, I was trying to make a point with it.
Even people who were on the project aren't always going to be absolutely certain on who is responsible for something being exactly a particular way. These projects have hundreds of people on them. Content moves around between multiple people. Unless I am the person who is actually responsible for something being a certain way, that chain of custody isn't always going to be super obvious to me. And all of this isn't to say that you aren't allowed to have your own opinions, to not like the things you don't like. It's specifically to point out that you being angry at a specific person, you attacking a specific person, is often misdirected. If you feel like you're just not getting the satisfaction from yelling at the corporate Twitter channel or yelling at the studio directly, if you feel like you need to focus it down onto an actual human being, I mean, that's really sad. I'm sorry. That's very sad. And hopefully you can grow beyond that. But I will give you a couple of outlets.
So I can tell you, the way he's talking about this, he's addressing it. There is, of course, a few people that will go and be mean, be crazy. You get it from all walks of life. There are people that'll go out there and they will be harassing and stupid to specific people. I mean, I've seen it on all kinds of places. I got cussed out because of it when I worked at GameStop because a game was so bad and they tried to return it and they blamed it on me for being bad. I'm like, I just sell the game. It's not my fault it's bad. You sold me a bad game. You knew this was bad. I ain't play this shit. And at the time, it was something I would never play. Again, the easiest way to send a message, because at this point, going back and forth, even with criticism or even asking questions, going back and forth with these people does not accomplish anything because they are stuck in their ways. Unless you get somebody that's higher up the chain that puts their foot down on them and say, you're doing this. And I'm surprised they don't do more of it because they're losing their money. But yeah, because they're losing them major money. But the trendy thing at the time is all the woke nonsense crap that's in the games. Like, and that, that's the reason why China's kind of kicking the Western game media's ass right now with a lot of the games that they've got coming out like Black Myth Wukong and Stellar Blade, for example. But they assume sometimes the criticism, and sometimes some of these people are like, they out themselves because they'll go in and say something stupid on Twitter, or they'll respond, like I said, to somebody's initial criticism of the game. They'll get butthurt about it, and then that just starts a chain reaction down the pike. Because from my experience from watching YouTube videos and all that, they're usually the ones who started. They started. If there's criticism, There's an easy response to that. I am so sorry that you feel that way about our game and about our hard work on and our work on it. But I do want to thank you for at least spending the time of giving it a chance. That's all you got to say. Or you just don't get on Twitter and say anything at all and just keep the shit to yourself. Don't get so butthurt because of somebody saying something on X. The easiest way to do it is just ignore it. There's plenty of times, and I will say some stuff on X every once in a while, not very often, but I have a criteria when I'm responding to certain comments. If I look for certain markers on their profile, like if they've got flags, profiles, or they've got some kind of disorder in there, I move on with my day because it's not even worth my time. Because there's no point in getting into it with somebody like that, because it's not going to end, and nobody wins in that situation. You just look at it, you just like move, you're just like, what? All right, move on. Just go on about your business. But like I said, usually they're starting it, usually, and it's always from somebody's initial, which was never that bad. Or they're being preemptive about it because the rumors are going around because of YouTube videos. Most of the time is they're responding to YouTube videos, and they all have concerns about and they're reporting rumors and news. A lot of times they're getting it from whistleblowers inside the studios that are working on the games.
If you need to complain at a human being, I'm going to say you don't get to go lower than the first person in the credits. You can go higher than that, but no lower than that. The first person in the credits is the person who was, theoretically at least, in charge of the project. They are the person where at least some of the responsibility is going to lie. Now, did they have full control over what was going on in the project? No, because you could still have the CEO of the company forcing them to use his stupid nephew as a...
So here's the thing on that. I would say prior to COVID, if a movie was bad, who did they usually blame? The director. They never blamed the studio heads. And of course, we all know producers, executive producers, and producers have their hands 6 ways to Sunday, but it's usually the director that gets blamed. The actors get blamed. It's never the CEO of the studio. It's never somebody on the executive board, because people don't know them. They know the director. Now, I know in video games, usually people don't know who these people are because that's just the way it is. But usually director means they're leading the ship no matter what, and their job is to take the mandates that are from the higher ups and incorporate it into the game. So if the executives say, listen, we know you're making a war game, but our focus group really likes unicorns that fart rainbows, and you put that in there, and he's got to put it in there and make it work until they come across saying, listen, we know we said that's what the focus group said, but we did a new focus group, and they don't like unicorns that fart rainbows. They prefer frogs that were turned gay in the river. That's what they want. Can you put us a gay frog in there? The directors lead the ship. It's not the CEOs at the end of the day. Usually these CEOs could give 2 shits about what's going on in the project. They greenlight it, and they'll step in if there's a problem, in my opinion.
Script consultant. But at the very least, they were in charge of the project for a somewhat significant percentage of the time. So if you are mad about Anthem and we look at the credits, no shit, that's me. But yeah, if you feel like you need to yell at somebody for the way that Anthem is.
Again, I liked Anthem. course, I got on the Anthem train early. No, late. I'm sorry, I got into it late. It was practically dead at that point. I really liked Anthem because I got to fly around and be like Iron Man, and the missions, repetitive as they were, didn't feel super repetitive to me. And all the weapons look the same, but I've noticed that in all of those type of games, all the weapons look the same.
It's much better to be yelling at someone like me who was theoretically in charge of the project, or at least in charge of the project for some of the development time, than yelling at someone who was working on the combat or the level design or whatever. Because again, you don't know exactly what their reality was.
Yeah, none of us know what their reality was. Sometimes we're wondering what the reality of some of these developers are, because it's obviously not in the real world.
When I was an executive producer, I got paid pretty well. And to some degree, from my perspective, some of that compensation was to act as a lightning rod for this negative discourse.
Was that in your contract? You know, an easier way of solving all this is put in the contract these people, like, you are not to interact with any of our potential customers. Keep all your opinions to yourself. Especially in there. Here's the thing: he talked about their personal accounts. These people will link what they're working on in the fucking bio. Simple way around that. Simple way around that is don't mention where you work or what you're working on in the bio on your social media. Keep it as vague as possible. But it's also that notice me senpai kind of thing. They want to be noticed and they're proud. Of course, you can be proud of where you work. I'm proud of where I work, but I don't float it around all over the place.
It's one of the reasons why I think it is an executive producer's responsibility to have a social media presence. Because some of you, if you're still watching, will play a game and be angry about it and need to yell at a human being. And I think one of the executive producer's responsibilities is to protect his team.
So essentially, you're saying an executive producer's customer support. That's what customer support is. And you know, in the old days, that's who handled complaints. People called the phone, called customer care, called customer support, and they would complain there, and then it would go up the chain. That's a novel idea. Call customer care and voice your concerns. What an amazing concept.
And part of protecting his team is providing that lightning rod. If you don't provide that lightning rod, then people who need to vent are going to find places to vent. We live in a social media world. Many people have some form of social media presence. If you, as the most senior person on the project, don't have a social media presence, then people are going to go and find someone else.
So they need to start putting a warning on video game boxes in video game trailers from now on. If you have a complaint, please direct it to such and such, and here's their socials. Again, a lot of times when people end up responding, it's because they started it first, because somebody gave a valid criticism or reported a rumor, and then they go out and then they start insulting people in their response. People react to it.
Someone who isn't paid as well as you, someone who doesn't necessarily have the tools to protect themselves from the toxicity that is leveled at them. I would say again that you shouldn't be targeting people directly, even the executive producer.
There's only a small, in my opinion, that I can have seen, small amount of people who do what he's calling targeting usually, like I said, again, and I keep reiterating this point, it's usually a reaction to what somebody on that team said initially. They got a bad response from the fans.
But you know what? If you feel the need, the higher up in the organization you go, the more I'm going to say have at her. As you get beyond the executive producer and you get up into studio leadership and group leadership and the C-suite and the person in charge of the entire corporation, they share responsibility in the game you don't like being the way that it is. So if you feel the need to yell at them, again, probably don't, but they're big boys and girls, so they should be able to handle it. Now, the reality is, most of those people do not have a social media presence, do not have a way that you can yell at them directly. So a lot of times what I'm telling you is the least senior person you're allowed to yell at is the executive producer. And a lot of times the most senior person you're going to be able to yell at is the executive producer. So once again, the executive producer serves as a lightning rod for all this vitriol.
Yes, Daddy. Tell me who I'm supposed to complain to. Who am I supposed to put my criticism to? Tell me who. Tell me exactly who. I need to follow your instructions on the proper way of voicing my concerns?
If you feel like you're not being listened to,
You're not. Nobody's being listened to.
When you complain on Metacritic or you complain on the forums of a studio, or you complain into the social media channels of the publisher or the studio, be aware that this stuff is carefully scrutinized, not just by the social media teams, also by the teams themselves.
Scrutinized, ignored, and then they are misinterpreting a lot of times what the criticism is. Because they could turn that I didn't like the gameplay in your game into they turn it into, oh, this person's a racist.
Arguably, in a lot of cases, to too great of a degree. The team is listening, I would say, often too much to what you are yelling about and complaining about in these channels.
And they do nothing about it. They just go about and they'll respond to it with an insult. They'll downgrade, because the video people from my interpretation, the people in the video game world, the video game developers, they hate us, the buyers. They hate us. Oh God, things would be so much better if we weren't around, if the gamers weren't around. Well, then who the hell would buy your games? You can think about that. And there's that great Michael Jordan quote, or what Michael Jordan said when to Nike, when, we don't need to be pushing your product so much to Republicans. Michael Jordan says, well, Republicans have money too. You can't be choosy. You can't be choosy to who you sell to. If they come up with a big fat wad of cash in their hands, and they want what you're selling, you take it with a smile on your face and just give it to them. That's why I'm glad in the retail that I work in, none of that stuff comes up. People come in, they want to buy something. I could give two shits what you believe in. I could care less what you do. You want to buy this? Buy it. I don't care. I'm here to make money.
But don't worry, you don't need to go onto their Twitter channel and yell at them directly, because they're going to hear it anyway.
And ignore it.
Be a human being, have some empathy, and stop being cruel. Stop throwing a party because a bunch of people lost their jobs, because you don't know the circumstances that resulted in the thing that you're mad at.
Again, if anybody is celebrating stuff like that, it's because they came at the gamers at bad faith. And it's basically like, we voted with our wallets. You got the brunt of your consequence. The karma right there. I spoke to Karma earlier about Mark Hamill. This is what you get for insulting the fans and telling us not to buy your game. We voted with our wallets, and that is the result of us voting with our wallets. There are layoffs, and the people that worked on the game are out of a job. maybe they should. And the thing is, what they need to do whenever that case is, they need to sit down and reevaluate what led them to that result, and then maybe change it up on the next job they get. Like maybe I should just start listening to the gamers or listening to fans. Maybe I shouldn't talk so much on social media. Maybe I should just not you know pay attention to any of that stuff. You know, because you got to make changes. There are things that I have done, like I've gone from job to job to job, and I've made changes every time I've gone to working at a different job because you kind of have to. But I've also taken what I've learned from the previous job and applied it to the new ones, like the stuff that did well and the stuff that didn't do well. I try not to take that with me so I can make new mistakes.
People deserve some grace. People deserve some empathy from you. And if you can't provide that, then stay off the internet completely. One last time for the cheap seats. You are entitled to your opinion. You are entitled to be angry about a game that you bought. You paid good money for it.
But in the same vein, if I'm hearing this correctly, and if you're hearing it correctly too, he is basically saying, no, it's interpreting out to me like, don't be critical, but you have every right to be critical. We just don't want to hear you being critical.
But
try tell it to your next door neighbor and not to us.
Try to remember that it's just a game. Even more importantly, when you are...
And sometimes with games, this is all they've got. This is their escape. This is what calms them down during the day. They want to enjoy something. And with that pressure of spending that precious $70 that they're probably only afforded to maybe spend every 3 months, they want something that will be worth their time and is good.
Expressing your complaints. Stay away from cruelty. Stay away from targeting individual people. Stay away from trying to cause harm. Stay away from celebrating harm done to actual human beings. Express your opinion to the company that made your game. Tell them what you like. Tell them what you don't like. Be specific. It will help you get games that are more like what you want. But when you are personally attacking individual devs, you are crossing a line. And you're probably attacking the wrong person anyway. A special thanks to my members.
All right, so no more of that because I think he's just pretty much just going to be thanking his members from there on. Where is my? There it is. There it is. I was looking for my mouse. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, all of that. All right, so the way that I'm interpreting that is basically, hey, don't if you got criticisms, don't bring it to us. You can have them, but go tell somebody else and don't tell us. We don't want to hear it. Again, there are a few amount of people that will go and respond to them in ways that are not appropriate, and you should not do that. But it's almost like, he's being hypocritical in both in the same video. You can be critical, but you shouldn't be critical. Because sometimes criticism does come off will come off a little aggressive in some cases. That is not that's not threatening or law breaking or anything like that. It's basically saying, you're the customer. You don't have the rights to do this. Basically, we have your money and you should shut up. What's the phrase? Shut up and enjoy product and get excited about next product. I gotta find that clip somewhere. That'd be a great little clip to play on these streams. But again, it's always a reactionary thing. Somebody puts up a rumor or they have a criticism, based on the game a lot of times before it comes out. Somebody on the team makes a reaction to it, and they are highly negative and they are super aggressive. And then the chain reaction starts from there, and it gets to the point to where somebody on there says, well, if you don't like it, don't buy it. And every time you hear that, it is destined to fail right there, because you're basically telling us not to buy your game. And also, again, usually it's the fans that are passionate, and these are affecting games that are already established IPs that already have a history of a certain amount of expectation that is expected from the gamers. If it's a new IP and they're throwing weird crap in it, if it doesn't catch them right away, people are not going to be interested in it in the get-go. I can name you Unknown 9 as an example. There was that fear for Indiana Jones, but it turned out that fear did not exist. It's stuff like that. Which, again, you can make whatever game you want, but just keep in mind, depending on what you put that stuff in, if there's a fan base for it, they may not react to it. But that's all I got to say about it, as probably a terrible take as that was. All right, I'm going to take a tiny, tiny little break. And then when I come back, we're going to wrap up and talk about some Greg Miller. So stay tuned. I will be right back.
It takes the wrinkles out, but it makes the clothes smell great. The scent is in the steam. That's very clever. I like that.
Kind of reminds you of when your mother hung the clothes out on the clothesline on a crisp, sunny day.
I like that. What's that? I smell something burning.
Mike, you left the iron on your shirt.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
You ruined your shirt, Mike. Oh, no.
I probably had it on the wrong setting.
Oh,
I really blew this.
You know what? You've got it up too high, and you did what a lot of people did. You left it sit on there too long. Now, if you'd have had the power steamer, that wouldn't have happened. See, look. First of all, you can't turn it up too high.
It's not going to burn this?
And it's not going to burn it because there's no hot metal. And the best part is it has automatic shut-off. If you accidentally leave it, as soon as it runs out of steam, it automatically shuts itself off.
That's pretty good. Let's see here. Whoa, no scorch mark. I like that. That's good. I really ruined this. Oh, well.
Oh, what a shame. Well, look. It's not a problem. As long as you got the ironing board set up, I'm going to show you how to do something else.
Jeans. Now, I have a particular thing I like to do. I take my jeans and I get them dry cleaned so you can get that professional crease. I like that professional crease.
Okay, good. Well, I'm going to show you how to do that professional crease.
Without going to the dry cleaners?
You don't have to spend the money. Remember, we're here to show you how to save time and money.
I'm ready.
Now, you line that little steam vent right there up at the edge of the fabric.
This is one thing I know how to do. You want to get a sharp crease with an iron, you got to lean into it.
No, you don't have to lean in it. You just go over it lightly, Mike. Let your fingers do the steaming.
Let your fingers do the steaming?
Right. Now, come on back down. Okay, that's enough. Doesn't take much time. Now you have a nice, sharp, professional.
Look at a professional crease.
That's great, Mike, and you did it yourself.
Wow. Now, wait a second. Now, what if you make a mistake? Like, I've done this before. You get one crease going one way and one crease going the other. Is that permanent in there now?
With the power of the power steamer, Mike, you can take the crease right back out the same way you put it in. And it's also great for little sewing projects. You can do hems, seams, creases, pleats.
Look, it's gone just like that. I like the power. This is pretty good.
Okay, but now I'm going to show you how to take wrinkles out of some of the things that are hardest to get the wrinkles out of.
That was pretty hard to me.
Okay, well, we're going to start with something that's really hard.
What a mess.
100% linen.
Oh, you have to take that to the dry cleaners.
Linen is one of the hardest fabrics there are to iron, but not with the power of the power steamer. See how that just
Can you
knocks
see that?
those wrinkles right out?
Look at this, only a few seconds. This would have cost a lot of money to have cleaned and pressed.
Okay, now we're going to try silk. Remember, with silk, you've got to be real, real careful because you can't put a hot iron on that because the fabric is so fragile. But look at how that just takes the wrinkles.
Look, the wrinkles,
right
they just
out.
go away. Can you believe that? You're going to save a lot of money with the power steamer.
Now I'm going to really show you how to save a lot of money on dry cleaning bills.
All right, we're back. Oh yeah, I got to get a stinger on that transition right there. Hold on. Let's do this properly. Let's do this properly.
Well, you know what? I'm going to let you try this one. You haven't done anything in a while since the crease. You go ahead and just do it like I showed you.
All right, that's better. Plus, I pressed the wrong button. Welcome back. I just thought about something else when I had an epiphany, if you will, while I was using the bathroom. It seems like he's making this video, and and he is grouping all the gamers as if they're all doing the same thing, as like they're grouping all of us together with the actions of a few bad eggs. That's what it seems like to me, that he's grouping us all together with that very small amount of people that are doing like the threats and the harassment. But also, they could probably interpret, some of these people will even like I said before, they'll interpret a little bit of criticism as they're coming right for me, that kind of thing. But again, that's just what I'm assuming on there. I mean, everybody has their own will have their own interpretation of that video. All right, so we're getting towards the end here, so let's finish up with Greg Miller. So Greg Miller, if you do not know, we're going to go over here to this picture right here that we started off when we came back from Greg. He's the one with the rounded face and the glasses with his eyebrow up, thinking that he's the Rock. Well, anyway, for Greg Miller, let me give you a kind of brief lesson on Greg Miller for those of you who do not know who Greg Miller is. Greg Miller worked for IGN back in the early 2010s, probably somewhere in the late 2000s. He produced videos, podcasts. He was like basically the face of video gaming during that era. Like, he'd pop up on various TV shows and whatnot. And soon after that, I want to say in 2016, him and a couple of other people that worked at IGN, which in the picture right here is Greg Miller standing next to Colin Moriarty, which I will get to him in a second. They left IGN to start their own company called Kinda Funny. And their whole mission statement was, we wanted to get out from IGN. We did not want to be IGN. We wanted to do our own thing, grassroots, smaller level, and independent. Well, whoops, that was a spoiler there. So they started that off, it was kind of grassroots, it was small base, but they tried to make themselves give themselves a big production value look to it, kind of like if they have never left IGN. I knew about Greg Miller here and there, but I didn't really kind of start fully getting involved and getting enwrapped into the whole Kind of Funny thing until they started doing stuff with Rooster Teeth. And because at the time I was a huge Rooster Teeth fan. I loved Rooster Teeth. Rooster Teeth was great. Listen to the podcast, watch all the videos that they posted. I even went to RTX in 2014, which Greg Miller was there. I think all the kind of funny guys were there. They were all there, but I think they were there when they were still with IGN. So basically, that's where I got exposure, big exposure to them. Was around that time when they were doing stuff with Rooster Teeth. I got on and I had subscribed to Kind of Funny, and I watched their stuff here and there. Then I got bored with it because I have this thing when it comes to YouTube. The thing that makes YouTube and how people are successful on YouTube, in my opinion, authenticity. When you're broadcasting or making videos like in your living room or game room or anything like that, and you're being honest and sincere, you really connect to the people that are watching your stuff. The high production value stuff kind of seems fake to me, not really just, it's like you could, there would be no difference between watching Kind of Funny and let's say G4 or something, which, G4 had high production value, but there was an authenticity to it, at least old G4. Well, anyway, and plus he kind of got into after a while, he's gotten to where he was just annoyingly positive and happy and all that, and he just made these awful jokes, and just his tone of voice I just couldn't stand it anymore. So I kind of walked away from Kind of Funny pretty much after the thing with Colin happened, which I will get into in a second. So Greg Miller here recently has been a little bit on the insufferable side, because he's throwing politics into everything. There was one stream that he had on one of his podcasts where he was begging people to vote for Kamala Harris. Yeah, if it were me, I wouldn't tell you who to vote for. Vote for whoever the hell you want. You've got your reasons for voting for somebody. I've got your reason for voting for somebody. The only thing I would say is, at the end of the day, we just get along regardless, and we look beyond politics, because politics does not define a person. But he was at I get this pulled up. You better stop there, X. So he was at, no, not picture in picture. So he was at the DICE Awards show recently. And of course, it's another industry awards show. So basically, as I've said before, like when we were talking about Mark Hamill and the BAFTAs, it's a celebration of smelling their own farts. So he was there. He posted this clip on his X, and you know what? I'm gonna let the video speak for itself.
My favorite games, Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred is nominated.
Hold on a second. I don't think that's gonna be loud enough. Let me pick that up just a bit, and we will try again.
My favorite games, Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred is nominated for Online Game of the Year. Get your hands together. Thank you, Rod. Of course, that is a game that takes real skill.
It does. Yeah, and I'm not trying to flatter everyone here, but if I know one thing about this audience, is that none of you had to pay someone to play Diablo for you.
It's hard to level up your own characters when you're dismantling democracy.
I feel like we're in good company here, but just in case for the people online, if you get mad at that joke, it's Greg Miller. Greg
Miller. Fuck Elon Musk and fuck Donald Trump.
I can't say that it's right bringing politics into award shows, but there are always politics, especially in these mainstream kind of industry type. There's always politics in there. This is an example of somebody not reading the room, reading the area. So you can have your opinion. I am told you're totally to your opinion, but over half the country voted the way they voted, and people are not liking it because things are getting done, because it's not their candidate. Now, the thing about this, fuck Elon Musk. Yeah, fuck him. You know what? Fuck him. Fuck him. I will do myself a favor, and I will fuck that guy. Who cares? I don't like him. I will not like him to the day, but they at one point they did love him, just like they did Trump. So you know what? Fuck Elon Musk. Just fuck that guy. which is funny because you can say that, hate the guy all you want, but here is Greg Miller's Twitter account. So you are paying Elon Musk for that blue check mark. So, but, you know, fuck them. And if you notice here on Kind of Funny, they have the gold check mark. That is $1,000 a month. So not only are you paying him for your personal account, you're paying him for your corporate account. And if I'm not mistaken, the way that works, let's see, I think there are designated people that can also get access to that gold check mark, which I can't see on here. Let's see. Whoops. Oh, that went all the way down. Let's see. Following. Of course, he's going to follow his own. Tim Geddes. Tim Geddes is another guy. Okay. All right. So I could have sworn that the people that works, Nick Scarpino, he works on Kind of Funny. But anyway, my point is also with that, if you attach it to anybody that works for the company as well, you have to pay extra on top of that. And I think there are pictures of him with the Tesla too. I tried finding those, but I couldn't find them. But you're being awfully hypocritical when you're saying fuck Elon Musk, but yet you pay the guy for your check marks. How's that make sense? If you didn't like the guy so badly, cancel that check on those check marks and get up and go to Blue Sky, which I'm sure they probably have a Blue Sky. But the problem with Blue Sky, if they do that, they're going to lose all those followers because they have the vast majority of them will not go over to Blue Sky with them. So it's a hypocritical thing about this. And the thing about, from what I understand about Greg Miller, is Greg Miller is he's terrible. And this goes back to Colin Moriarty. So Colin Moriarty, Nick Scarpino, Tim Geddes, and Greg Miller started Kind of Funny. So everything was going great and all this stuff. You know, they were getting up subscribers and they were getting people to, you know, donate and to keep the thing running until International Women's Day. And that kind of went with, right here, spoilers. So on International Women's Day in March 8th of 2027, Colin Moriarty tweeted a joke. Peace and quiet, hashtag a day without a woman. A joke, a terrible joke, but a joke nonetheless. So what did that do? Yeah, he quit, or basically they came to a decision that, you know, they had separate visions to leave the company. Basically what it was the other three pretty much voted him, like wanted him out because he made a sexist tweet. Which, there was nothing wrong with that tweet. All it said was, peace and quiet. That would be like an Al Bundy joke. But the thing about it is the fact that they had turned on him and not supported him, especially Greg Miller, because these two were best friends. They were roommates for a little while. There was a period of time when Greg Miller had cancer. And Colin Moriarty stayed with him, supported him, helped him out during his illness, and then turned around. And then we have the tweet. He was he left because of going in separate directions. He got canceled, and basically they removed him. That's how it always is. It's never under, whenever they say, you know, mutual whatever. No. That's just a polite way of saying I got fired or they wanted me gone. What was the result of that? Well, Colin Moriarty's doing his own thing now, and it is skyrocketing, shooting straight to the moon. Kind of funny is lucky if they get they are losing viewers. They'll be lucky if they get enough viewers to beat out, oh, I don't know, Smash JT videos or Nerdrotic videos or Geeks and Gamers videos, stuff like that. But he was also, the thing is, what he said in there also, he's pandering. He was pandering to the crowd because, much like people in Hollywood and himself, they live in their own little urban bubble. It's always these big cities because they assume that if it's go the way it should be like this in my area. Anything out of this, outside the area, is evil. The people that live, if they live out like in the Midwest or in the South, they're morons. They're racist. They're terrible. They have low IQs. All of that stuff. I would give a challenge to like somebody like this. Get out of, because they live in San Francisco. Because San Francisco, from what I understand, is just a cesspool. Get out, go live in Kansas for a month. Go live in a small town in Kansas for a month. Stay off the internet. Go around, walk around, meet the people. Soak in the normal everyday life. Get away from the shilling. Get away from the doing award shows. See how it's really like living with being around normal people. And take it from their point of view. Could that change your opinion? Probably not, because if you change your opinion and voice it out there, you're not going to get work. You're going to get shunned. You're going to get canceled. And you know, that really shows you, in my opinion, his friendship with Colin. How valuable that was. He was more concerned about staying relevant in games media than his friend. Sometimes you do have to distance yourselves from people if they do something bad. And I'm talking about really bad. Like, let's say law breaking. But a joke? A dad joke? Not really something to end a friendship over. A partnership. A business relation. Because guess what? Here's the thing about all that stuff. It would have died down. It would have died down. It would have died down in a couple of weeks. And you know what? You make light of it. You're like, yeah, I made a terrible joke. And you just move on. Now, also in that same, let's see if I got it right here, if I can find it. There we go. In that same opening statement, by the way, the woman next to him, hot. But he also had this to say as well.
Again, strap in, everybody. There was a lot of annoying culture war stuff around games in 2024.
Oh, here we go.
Talk revolved around women characters in games not being attractive anymore.
Yeah, and when I think about it, I have a very nuanced opinion on it, which is basically, who fucking cares? Have these people seen a woman up close before? What the fuck are we talking about?
Okay, so one, standing next to an attractive woman. But what he had just said? And actually, I'm not, it's what he had just said. It says right there, have these people ever seen a woman up close before? Is he saying that women are ugly? Is that what he's saying? Because it can't be like, have they ever seen a woman up close? Have they ever seen a woman in person before? You can interpret that as, have these people ever seen a woman before? A woman is ugly. And he's talking about how people are talking about how they're making women look ugly in the games. And then you get Stellar Blade, and then they're complaining about Stellar Blade because it's too sexist or whatever, and it ends up selling very well because it is an attractive woman based off a real life model. Because that was one thing that came up about Stellar Blade. They're like, oh, this has unrealistic proportions and all this, and then they showed a video like, yeah, this is the motion cap actress that we got the inspiration for the character from. She's actually a real person. They actually look 1-to-1. So again, foot in his mouth. And this is things that, people, especially when you're getting women that they're purposely uglifying for. And it has already come out from some developers, some people in the video game industry, is the reason why they do that. They're making the women ugly is because they want people in the trans community to be welcomed. Which I don't get. I don't get at all. Because there are trans women out there, and I have seen it, that look just as good as a regular woman. But it seems like they're catering to the ones that are just simply like throwing a wig on and putting on a dress. I mean, that's what it seems to me. I mean, that's what I'm guessing. Let's see what the Sky Scrollers people are going to say about that line.
Everybody, but of course,
I think that joke would land a lot better if he could actually tell us what a woman is.
Yeah. Did he just call all women ugly?
Me and Blabs on the same page.
I don't know, Blabs. What do you think of that?
Can you play that back again?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and when I think about it, I have a very nuanced opinion on it, which is basically, who fucking cares? Have these people seen a woman up close before? What the fuck are we
apparently the
talking
customers
about,
care. That's why these games are dying.
Yep, exactly. Yellow flash right there. The customers care.
Because Indiana Jones fighting not.
So they move on. Blaz, what are your thoughts on that?
So, he's basically saying that nobody cares that they're making ugly women. Is that what he's saying, correct?
Well, he's saying, why do you care if your characters are ugly or attractive?
But then he goes and says, have you even seen women before? So, the way he's implied it makes it sound like he thinks all women are ugly.
I mean...
That's kind of what I understood there. Maybe I'm reaching, but that's funny.
No, I don't think you are. I think that he maybe misspoke. He was trying to hit something a little edgier, and in turn, he
yeah, maybe, but it came across that in his tone is like, yeah, have you seen a woman? They're ugly. So expect them to be ugly in video games.
More or less made it sound like he thinks all women are ugly.
That's kind of what he said. I was like, wait, what?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Maybe his wife's ugly, but the rest of us aren't. Sorry, Toots.
His wife is fine. His wife is, she's cute, like
then
it is.
What the hell? Whatever.
I don't know.
And of course, attractiveness is in the eye of the beholder. Not everybody finds the same things attractive.
Oh, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know.
Is she faithful to him though?
I don't know. It's not my business, But it's rough, man. Because like I said, these are people that I always thought were friends, and to see them take such a dramatic left turn to where you can't even have an award. You can't even you thought it was so funny that you included this in your opening monologue. Just
represents
put the awards out there.
The industry in itself right there. They're all clapping over that.
Yeah.
This is why a lot of these AAA games have the problems they have, because they're all just tone deaf.
tone deaf is that's the word I was been looking for, tone deaf. And this brings up another point, and you guys can check it out on my page. I did a video where I reacted to the Real Video Game Awards hosted by Stuttering Craig here. A very, in my opinion, non-political award show. And of course, people bitched about it, saying it was an anti-woke show. Which it wasn't. None of that crap came up at all. The only time that anytime that comes up is on the podcast. So they thought that because the podcast was like that, it translated over. But Craig is more common sense. I wouldn't say anti-woke. I'd say common sense. Because Craig is just a big common sense guy. That that's his whole thing. I wouldn't say anti-woke because it's just whatever makes common sense. But yet nobody's bitching about the politics that were brought up in this award show. You know why? Because that was in there. Because that was all same thing. It was all in the same. They all think the same. But we've got something that was a little different, and they're complaining, and this is anti-woke. It's the anti-woke award show, and blah blah blah. The Game Awards was not perfect, but it is a step in a direction for something that could be better as years go by if he keeps it going. Because it's going to get to a point to where this ends up hitting big, the video game award, the Real Game Awards, and they're gonna want to accept awards from that, because it's the buyers that vote for that, not like the studios or publishers that are voting on who gets the awards for what and all that. But yeah, at the end of the day, back to Greg Miller. Again, like Craig said, he's known these people and they were good, but then they just took a deviation and went crazy. And that's what it is. I mean, because there's a mixture of stuff. You can take politics out of that. People are just out in California for the ones that are in the cities are just nutso anyway. Remove politics from all of that. They've always been crazy out there. And guess what? When the politics thing is probably not a big trendy thing to talk about, let's say 10 years down the road, they'll still be crazy. If Hollywood is still a thing in 10 years, with the face of entertainment changing so fast now, they can't keep up. So, but once they become celebrities, they become annoying anyway. Man, I can kind of tell I'm slowing down right now. I mean, my brain is like we're going on E over here. So yeah. But yeah, that's it. That is it. I am going to go ahead and call it a night right there. I don't know how I feel about the show. I did talk about a lot of stuff tonight. Just off the top of my head, whether it made sense, whether it didn't. If I was able to get a point across or totally missed the point, we made it through and got to the end. We got to the end of another stream. So again, and I'm gonna say this. Of course, this is just my what I see what's going on. It's my point of view. You agree or disagree, that's cool. You can throw it in the comments below. Keep it civil. I always ask to keep it civil. But I mean, and of course, my opinion is not what I think is not going to hurt anybody. As I changed, yes, I went from a can to a bottle. But I mean, it's whatever you think on that. Okay, so let me do like I normally do on my other streams. I'm going to go ahead and finish up and do my plugs. Don't forget to follow me on Kick. Subscribe to me on Twitch. Subscribe to me on youtube.com/@NashThunderclap. I'm on all the socials. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, also known as X, where you get all my updates. Everything is Nash Thunderclap. Hey, while you're here, you're already on YouTube. While you're here, don't forget to like and subscribe, because it helps me with this so-called algorithm, or so I've been told. If you want to join me again during the week, I will be on Twitch and Kick. Right now, I just got finished, and the videos are over on my YouTube page as well. Just got finished with Transformers Fall of Cybertron, and I'm in the middle of Black Myth Wukong. Next week, probably will not be on Friday to do a stream. I've got a very, very busy week at my my regular job. Typically over there, we've gotten it switched out to where I can we get out by 7, but I'm going to be staying late to work on some projects for 3 separate days. Of course, keep an eye on the socials on when I'm going to be on. As far as like streaming on Twitch and Kick, it looks like it's probably I will be on Sunday with something unique for Sunday, and then I will be on Tuesday and Thursday. And what I am going to do is devote both of those days to Black Myth Wukong. And then Friday, Friday's not going to happen. I will try and move the live stream here to Saturday, but if not, I will see you the Friday after that. It kind of really depends on what's going to be around to be talked about. If it is something I feel is a newsworthy grouping of topics, I'll try for Saturday. But if it's not much or whatever, we're going to skip and go to the following Friday. But I do appreciate each and everybody that has that hopped in, or now or later, whenever, depending on when you're watching this, and give me a little bit of a chance to go through and just try to interpret my ramblings at this point. But yeah, I really, really appreciate it. So, with that being said, have a good night, everybody. Take it easy. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.
And now, folks, it's time to say goodnight. We sincerely appreciate your patronage and hope we've succeeded in bringing you an enjoyable evening of entertainment. Please drive home carefully and come back again soon. Good night.